The alarm bells rang through the deep space communications array in Colorado. Commander Jake Sullivan rushed to his station, coffee spilling from his mug as he moved. The massive dish outside had picked up something unusual. Not the usual space noise or distant star signals. This was different. This was a message. "What do we have, Peterson?" Jake asked his communications officer. Lieutenant Carl Peterson looked up from his screens, eyes wide with excitement. "Sir, it's a distress call, but not from Earth. This is coming from deep space, maybe 30 light years out." Jake frowned. No human ships traveled that far yet. Earth had only achieved faster-than-light travel 5 years ago. Their longest missions barely reached 10 light years from home. "Run it through the translation computer," Jake ordered. The machine hummed and clicked for several minutes. Slowly, words began to appear on the screen. The message was long and filled with strange names and places, but the meaning was clear. Someone was asking for help. The message came from something called the Kalari Federation. They described themselves as peaceful gardeners who had never known war. But now they faced destruction from an enemy called the Vorthak Empire. These Vorthak were warriors who conquered world after world, destroying everything in their path. The Kalari had tried to hide, tried to run, but the Vorthak found them everywhere. 12 star systems had already fallen. Billions had died. The message ended with a simple plea. "Please, if anyone receives this, help us. We cannot fight them alone." Jake read the message 3 times. His hand shook slightly as he reached for the secure phone that connected directly to the Pentagon. "Get me President Carter," he said. 2 hours later, Jake stood in the White House Situation Room. President Lisa Carter sat at the head of a long table, surrounded by military leaders and advisors. The room buzzed with quiet conversations as everyone tried to understand what they had learned. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly," President Carter said, looking at the translated message on her tablet. "An alien civilization is asking Earth for military help against another alien civilization." "That's correct, Madam President," Jake replied. "The Kalari Federation has been broadcasting this message on all frequencies for weeks. We're probably not the only ones who received it." Admiral Ben Hayes leaned forward. "Madam President, we have a moral obligation here. These Kalari sound like peaceful people who never hurt anyone. If we can help them, we should." General Rick Stone shook his head. "With respect, Admiral, we don't know what we're dealing with. This Vorthak Empire conquered 12 star systems. That suggests serious military power. We've had FTL travel for 5 years. Are we really ready for interstellar war?" Dr. Amy Rodriguez, Earth's top expert on space biology, cleared her throat. "I've been analyzing the data they sent along with the message. The Kalari have shared detailed information about both their own species and their enemies." She activated a holographic display showing strange, tall creatures with smooth skin that changed colors. The Kalari appear to be herbivores, plant eaters. Their entire society revolves around growing things and creating beautiful gardens. They have no concept of military force. The display changed to show insect-like creatures with sharp claws and dark armor. The Vorthak are different. They're warriors, but their tactics are interesting. They rely heavily on fear and intimidation. Every species they've conquered surrendered after minimal fighting. President Carter studied the images carefully. "What does that tell us about their actual combat effectiveness?" "It tells us they've never faced real resistance," General Stone said slowly. "Every enemy they've met has been like these Kalari. Peaceful, non-aggressive, probably scared of violence." The room fell silent as everyone considered this information. Finally, Admiral Hayes spoke up. "Madam President, Earth is different. We're not herbivores who've never seen war. We've been fighting each other for thousands of years. We know how to make weapons, how to organize armies, how to win battles." Dr. Rodriguez nodded. "The Admiral is right. Looking at this data, humans are unlike any species the Vorthak have encountered. We're persistence predators. We evolved to hunt, to fight, to survive in hostile conditions. The psychological warfare that works on other species might not work on us at all." President Carter looked around the room. "What are our capabilities? If we decided to help these Kalari, what could we actually do?" Admiral Hayes stood and walked to a wall display. "We have 12 FTL-capable warships completed, with 8 more under construction. The Terran Defense Corps has been training for 5 years. We have weapons, tactics, and most importantly, we have people who know how to use them. The TDS Phoenix is our most advanced ship," he continued. "Captain Steve Mitchell commands her, and he's one of our best officers. We could have a response fleet ready to depart within a week. General Stone still looked concerned. Even if we're better fighters than they expect, we're talking about facing an empire that spans multiple star systems. The numbers alone could overwhelm us. Maybe, Dr. Rodriguez said. But consider this, the Vorthak have never lost a battle because they've never faced real opposition. They might not know how to handle a species that fights back effectively. Their entire military doctrine could be based on defeating enemies who give up quickly. President Carter stood up, signaling the end of the meeting. I need to think about this. Admiral Hayes, prepare contingency plans for a relief mission. General Stone, I want to know exactly what we're risking if we get involved. Dr. Rodriguez, keep analyzing that data. Look for any weaknesses we can exploit. As everyone filed out, Jake remained behind with the president. Commander Sullivan, she said, this message found us for a reason. Maybe it's because we're the only species in this part of the galaxy with the experience and willingness to fight back against bullies. Jake nodded. The Kalari called us in their message unknown friends among the stars. They have no idea what humans are capable of. President Carter smiled grimly. If we decide to answer their call, they're about to find out. The Vorthak have been hunting peaceful gardeners across the galaxy. They have no idea what happens when they threaten someone under Earth's protection. The decision was made that night. Earth would answer the call for help. The galaxy's apex predators were about to introduce themselves to the Vorthak Empire, and nothing would ever be the same. The TDS Phoenix cut through hyperspace like a silver arrow, leading a small fleet of Earth's finest warships toward the unknown. Captain Steve Mitchell stood on the bridge, watching the swirling colors of faster-than-light travel through the main view screen. Behind him, his crew worked quietly at their stations, preparing for humanity's first contact with alien life. 3 weeks had passed since they left Earth orbit. The Phoenix carried 200 of Earth's best soldiers, scientists, and diplomats. Following close behind were the destroyers TDS Liberty and TDS Guardian, each with their own crews ready for whatever they might find. Captain, called Lieutenant Susan Walsh from the communications station, we're receiving a signal. It's definitely Kalari origin. Put it through, Lieutenant. The bridge filled with a strange musical sound, soft and gentle like wind chimes mixed with flowing water. Dr. Helen Parker, the mission's chief diplomat, listened carefully with her translation equipment. They're welcoming us, she said with amazement. They're actually thanking us for coming before they even know if we can help them. Captain Mitchell nodded. Tell them we're honored to meet them, and that Earth stands ready to assist. The Phoenix dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kalari home system. What they saw took everyone's breath away. The planets weren't just worlds, they were works of art. Swirling clouds of different colors painted each world in beautiful patterns. Even from space, they could see that these were garden worlds, carefully shaped by millions of years of patient work. My God, whispered Lieutenant Commander Paul Davis, the ship's tactical officer. Look at those cities. The Kalari cities looked like they had grown instead of being built. Tall spires twisted upward like vines, connected by bridges that curved like flower stems. Everything was alive, everything was green and growing. A small ship approached the Phoenix. It moved smoothly without the harsh lines of human military vessels. As it drew closer, they could see it was made of some kind of living material that shifted colors as it flew. Incoming message. Captain, Lieutenant Walsh reported. The main screen flickered, then showed the first alien face any human had ever seen. Ambassador HFY was tall and graceful, with skin that looked like polished crystal. Large, gentle eyes studied the humans with obvious curiosity and hope. Greetings. Beings from the world called Earth, the alien said, its voice carrying that same musical quality they had heard in the radio signals. I am HFY, speaker for the Kalari Federation. We are grateful beyond words that you have answered our call for help. Captain Mitchell stepped forward. Ambassador HFY, I am Captain Steve Mitchell of the Terran defense ship Phoenix. We've come to learn about your situation and offer whatever assistance we can. The alien's skin shifted to brighter colors, which Dr. Rodriguez quickly identified as a sign of happiness. Will you honor us by visiting our world? We have prepared a place where we can speak together and share knowledge. 4 hours later, Captain Mitchell and his senior staff stood in a Kalari council chamber that defied human understanding of architecture. The walls were alive, covered in plants that glowed softly and seemed to respond to emotions. The air smelled like a garden after rain. HFY had brought several other Kalari leaders, each one tall and graceful with the same crystalline skin and gentle manner. They moved like dancers, everything flowing and peaceful. "Please sit with us," HFY said, gesturing to furniture that looked like it had grown from the floor. "Tell us about your people, your world. We have never met anyone like you." Dr. Parker took the lead in explaining human civilization. She spoke carefully, trying to present humanity in the best possible light. When she mentioned Earth's history of warfare, the Kalari delegation physically stepped backward. "You fight your own species?" asked another Kalari named Tel-9, its skin shifting to darker, worried colors. "We have in the past," Dr. Parker admitted. "But we've learned to work together against common threats. That's why we're here." The Kalari found this concept almost impossible to understand. They had never experienced aggression from their own kind. Violence was as foreign to them as peaceful cooperation was natural. "How do you create weapons?" Tel-9 asked with obvious distress. "How do you design tools meant to hurt others?" Lieutenant Colonel Frank Davis, the mission's military advisor, tried to explain human military thinking. "We study our enemies, learn their weaknesses, develop tactics to overcome their advantages. It's about solving problems under pressure." The Kalari recoiled at this description. To them, the idea of studying someone in order to harm them was horrifying. But when the discussion turned to the Vorthak, the mood changed completely. Ambassador HFY's skin shifted to deep, sad colors as he described the enemy. "They came to us 50 years ago," he explained. "At first we thought they were like us, just seeking new worlds to make beautiful. But they wanted to destroy, not create. They took our garden worlds and turned them into hives for their warriors." Dr. Rodriguez leaned forward. "Can you show us recordings of Vorthak tactics?" What they saw made the humans exchange grim looks. The Vorthak didn't just conquer, they terrorized. Their attacks were designed to cause maximum fear. They would destroy the most beautiful parts of Kalari worlds first, targeting art and gardens to break their enemies' spirits. They broadcast messages before each attack, HFY continued, showing what they did to other worlds. "Most of our people surrender rather than watch their homes be destroyed." Captain Mitchell studied the tactical data. "They've never faced real resistance, have they?" "No," admitted Tel-9. "We cannot bring ourselves to fight back. Violence is impossible for us. We can barely understand it, much less practice it." The meeting continued for hours. The humans learned that the Kalari had tried everything except fighting. Hiding, running, negotiating, even offering to become slaves. Nothing worked. The Vorthak seemed to enjoy the fear they caused. Finally, Ambassador HFY asked the question that hung over everything. "Can your people truly help us?" "The Vorthak have conquered 12 of our systems. They have thousands of ships and billions of warriors." Captain Mitchell stood up, his expression serious but confident. "Ambassador, humans are different from every species the Vorthak have faced. We don't surrender when threatened, we get angry. We don't run from bullies, we fight them." Dr. Parker added, "The Vorthak's main weapon is fear, but fear doesn't work on humans the same way it works on other species. We've evolved to handle stress and pressure. Some of us even perform better when threatened." The Kalari looked at each other, their skin colors shifting rapidly as they communicated in ways humans didn't yet understand. Finally, HFY spoke. 3 more of our worlds are under immediate threat. Beltar, with 50 million of our people, will be attacked within days. If you can truly help us, please, we beg you to try." Captain Mitchell didn't hesitate. "We'll intercept their fleet before it reaches Beltar. The Vorthak are about to learn what happens when they threaten beings under Earth's protection." As the humans prepared to leave, Tel-9 approached Dr. Rodriguez with obvious worry. "Your people frighten us," the alien admitted. "You speak of violence as if it is natural. What if you become like the Vorthak?" Dr. Rodriguez smiled gently. "The difference is that we choose when and why to fight. The Vorthak fight to conquer and destroy. We fight to protect and defend. There's a big difference between a predator and a guardian." The Phoenix and her escort ships left Kalari Prime that night, heading toward Beltar and humanity's first battle with an alien empire. The Vorthak invasion fleet appeared on the Phoenix's sensors like a dark cloud against the stars. 30 ships of various sizes, all black metal and sharp edges, moving toward the peaceful world of Beltar with obvious hostile intent. "Contact in 20 minutes. Captain," reported Lieutenant Commander Davis from the tactical station. Captain Mitchell studied the enemy formation on the main display. The Vorthak ships flew in a tight group. not bothering with proper spacing or defensive positioning. They clearly expected no real resistance. "Open a channel to the Vorthak fleet," Mitchell ordered. The screen flickered, then showed something that made several bridge crew members step backward. Overlord Crexton was a nightmare made real. A massive insect-like creature with compound eyes, sharp mandibles, and armor that looked like it had been grown rather than forged. "What pathetic species dares to block the path of the Vorthak Empire?" the alien hissed, its voice like grinding metal. Captain Mitchell stepped forward calmly. "I am Captain Steve Mitchell of the Terran defense ship Phoenix. You will turn around and leave this system immediately." Crexton's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. "Terran? We have no record of this species. You look like another weak herbivore race come to beg for mercy like all the others. We will add your world to our empire after we finish with these Kalari." "I don't think so," Mitchell replied simply. The Vorthak overlord studied the human captain with obvious confusion. Most species would be showing fear by now, pleading or offering tribute. This creature seemed almost relaxed. "You do not understand, little mammal. We are the Vorthak. We have conquered 1,000 worlds. Your tiny ships cannot stand against our might. We'll see about that. This is your final warning. Leave now or face the consequences." Crexton's compound eyes flashed with anger. "Consequences? You dare threaten the Empire? Destroy these fools!" The Vorthak fleet opened fire immediately, sending streams of energy toward the 3 human ships. But the Phoenix and her escorts were already moving, breaking formation and accelerating toward the enemy with aggressive maneuvers that caught the Vorthak completely off guard. "All fighters launch," Mitchell ordered. "Show them what Earth's children can do." Major Alex Cooper led the first squadron of human fighters off the Phoenix's flight deck. As his F-90 Starhawk dove toward the nearest Vorthak ship, he felt the familiar rush of combat adrenaline that every human pilot knew well. "Phoenix Control. This is Hawk 1. Beginning attack run," he reported, his voice steady despite flying directly into enemy fire. The Vorthak interceptor pilots had never seen anything like human fighter tactics. Instead of the cautious defensive flying they expected, the humans attacked aggressively, diving straight into the heaviest fire zones and using their superior speed and maneuverability to devastating effect. "What are these creatures doing?" screamed a Vorthak pilot over their communications channel, which Dr. Martinez was monitoring from the Phoenix Bridge. "They fly directly at our weapons." "Are they trying to die?" Another Vorthak voice filled with panic. "They're not dying. They're laughing. I can hear them laughing as they attack." Indeed, Major Cooper was grinning as he rolled his fighter around a Vorthak ship's point defense guns, returning fire with deadly precision. "Hawk 2, did you see that? Their gunner flinched when I got close. These bugs don't like it when someone shoots back." The space battle quickly turned into something the Vorthak had never experienced. Human pilots used tactics that seemed insane to creatures accustomed to fighting herbivores. They would fake retreats to lure enemies into traps, use their own ships as shields for teammates, and when all else failed, ram enemy vessels while ejecting at the last second. But the real shock came when Commander Lisa Brooks led a boarding party onto a Vorthak cruiser. The Phoenix had latched onto the enemy ship using magnetic grapples, and Brooks' Marines cut their way through the hull with plasma torches. The Vorthak warriors inside their ship were physically larger and stronger than humans, with natural armor and razor-sharp claws, but they had never fought an enemy that treated boarding actions like an art form. Brooks's team moved through the ship's corridors like shadows, using every advantage they could find. They turned off life support in sections to confuse the enemy, used the ship's own maintenance systems to create choke points, and employed flashbang grenades to disorient the Vorthak in their own home territory. "These creatures fight like demons," one Vorthak warrior transmitted before his signal was cut off. "They use our own ship against us. They move through spaces too small for us to follow." The boarding action succeeded when Sergeant Mike Torres, a former Navy SEAL, single-handedly captured the ship's engine room by crawling through an air vent that the larger Vorthak couldn't enter. Once inside, he locked the doors and began systematically shutting down the cruiser's systems. "Bridge, this is Torres," he reported calmly, while Vorthak warriors pounded on the reinforced door behind him. "I've got their engines offline and their weapons are down. This ship is no longer combat effective." But Captain Mitchell saved the most shocking moment for last. When the battle seemed evenly matched, he made a decision that stunned both sides. The Phoenix, already damaged from the fighting, accelerated directly toward the Vorthak flagship. "Captain, what are you doing?" Lieutenant Commander Davis asked, his voice tight with concern. "Something they'll never expect," Mitchell replied, gripping his chair as the ship shook from enemy fire. "All hands brace for impact. Damage control teams, stand by." The Phoenix slammed into the Vorthak flagship's shield generators at full speed. The collision should have destroyed both ships, but human engineering was built for exactly this kind of abuse. The Phoenix's reinforced hull cracked but held, while the enemy's shields collapsed completely. "All ships target the flagship now," Mitchell ordered, blood running from a cut on his forehead. The concentrated fire from the remaining human vessels crippled the Vorthak command ship within minutes. Faced with their leader's defeat and enemies who seemed to welcome death as much as victory, the remaining Vorthak ships began to withdraw. But before fleeing, Overlord Crexton sent one final transmission. His compound eyes were wide with something the Vorthak Empire had never felt before: genuine fear. "What are you?" he demanded, his voice shaking. "What manner of creatures fight like this? You ram ships with your own vessels. Your warriors laugh as they die. You are not natural." Captain Mitchell, wiping blood from his face, smiled grimly at the view screen. "We're human. We're from Earth. And we're exactly as natural as any other predator in the galaxy. The difference is that we choose what to hunt." The Vorthak fleet jumped to hyperspace, leaving the battlefield to the humans. But as they fled, Overlord Crexton sent an urgent message to the Empire's capital. "The prey has grown teeth. Send all available fleets. This species must be destroyed before they spread." On the Phoenix's bridge, Dr. Martinez looked up from his monitoring station. "Captain, I intercepted their emergency transmission. They're calling for reinforcements." Mitchell nodded, settling back into his command chair as damage reports came in from all sections. "Good, let them come. It's time the galaxy learned that there are worse things than the Vorthak Empire." Lieutenant Walsh reported from communications. "Sir, we're receiving messages from all over Kalari space. They're calling us heroes. They want to know how many more ships Earth is sending." "Tell them," Mitchell said, looking out at the stars where the Vorthak fleet had disappeared, "that Earth is just getting started. The galaxy asked for help, and we're going to make sure everyone knows that when you threaten the innocent, you answer to humanity." The Battle of Beltar was over, but the war for the galaxy's future was just beginning. News of humanity's victory at Beltar spread through Vorthak space like wildfire. For the first time in the Empire's 1,000-year history, a fleet had not just been defeated, it had been humiliated by a smaller force using tactics that defied everything the Vorthak understood about warfare. Emperor Vashatar sat on his throne of black crystal, listening to reports from across his domain. The massive insect-like ruler had built his empire on fear and the psychological weakness of herbivore species. Now that foundation was cracking. "Great Emperor," General Hicksmoth reported, his mandibles clicking nervously, "there are riots on 17 conquered worlds. The slave species have heard about these humans, and some are refusing to work. They believe salvation is coming." Admiral Kelvas, the Empire's chief naval commander, stepped forward. "Worse, my lord, 3 of our outer fleets have requested reinforcements. Ship commanders are reporting that their crews are afraid to engage unknown vessels, in case they encounter more Terrans." Emperor Vashatar's compound eyes focused on the holographic display, showing the location of the human homeworld. Such a small, insignificant system. How could creatures from that tiny world threaten his vast empire? "What do we know about these humans?" he demanded. Dr. Zixhai, the Empire's chief scientist, activated a projection showing data gathered from the battle. "They appear to be mammalian, warm-blooded, and far smaller than our warriors. But their behavior patterns are unlike any species we have encountered." The display showed recordings from the battle, slowed down to show human tactics in detail. "Notice how they deliberately place themselves in danger. Their pilots actually accelerate toward our weapons. Their boarding parties attack positions they cannot possibly hold. By all logic, they should have been destroyed quickly. Yet they won," Emperor Vashatar growled. "Yes, my lord, and I believe I know why." The scientist changed the display to show brain scans and biological data. "Every species we have conquered shares certain neurological patterns. They experience fear in ways that paralyze them when faced with overwhelming force. Fear makes them surrender rather than fight hopeless battles." The Emperor leaned forward with interest. "And these humans? Different brain chemistry entirely. Fear appears to enhance their performance rather than hinder it. They have what their own scientists call an adrenaline response that actually makes them faster, stronger, and more focused during combat. General Hicksmoth studied the data with growing alarm. Are you saying that our primary weapon, psychological warfare, is useless against them? Worse than useless. It appears to make them more dangerous. Meanwhile, in Kalari space, more human ships arrived daily. Captain Danny White commanded a flotilla of destroyers, while Colonel Sarah Lewis led Marines from Earth's Special Operations Command. Each new engagement with Vorthak forces revealed more aspects of human warfare that terrified the enemy. Dr. Amy Rodriguez worked alongside the Kalari scientist Tel-9 in a research facility on Kalari Prime, studying captured Vorthak technology and biological samples. What they discovered changed everything both species thought they knew about the galaxy. Look at this, Dr. Rodriguez said, pointing to genetic analysis data. Every intelligent species the Vorthak have encountered evolved on worlds with similar conditions. Stable climates, abundant plant life, few large predators. Tel-9's skin shifted to curious colors. What does that mean for warfare? It means they all develop the same survival strategies. When threatened, they hide, they flee, or they submit. It's why the Vorthak's fear-based tactics work so well. She brought up a comparison chart showing Earth's evolutionary history, but Earth was different. Unstable climate, ice ages, volcanic eruptions, asteroid impacts, and dozens of competing predator species all evolving at the same time. Your people evolved to fight, Tel-9 realized. Its skin showing amazement and fear in equal measure, not just to fight, to win fights. Every human alive is descended from creatures that survived by being better predators than anything else on the planet. We didn't just develop tools for hunting, we became living weapons. The implications were staggering. Humanity wasn't just another spacefaring species. They were the galaxy's first persistence predators to achieve interstellar travel. As more human forces arrived, the Vorthak Empire began to mobilize for total war. Emperor Vashitar called for the return of fleets from distant territories, pulling back forces that had been conquering new systems to defend the Empire's core. But the humans weren't waiting. Captain Steve Mitchell, now commanding a growing fleet of Earth vessels, began striking at Vorthak supply lines and military bases. Each attack revealed new aspects of human military thinking that the enemy couldn't counter. At the Battle of Krexhai Station, Commander Tony Clark demonstrated human siege warfare by turning a captured Vorthak supply depot into a fortress, then using its own defenses against relief fleets. The Vorthak, accustomed to overwhelming weak positions quickly, had no idea how to dislodge an enemy that improved defensive positions while under fire. During the liberation of Yeltar, Major Patricia Lewis showed Vorthak ground commanders what human infantry could accomplish. Her Marines didn't just take objectives, they held them against overwhelming odds, using terrain and captured equipment in ways that defied Vorthak military doctrine. The most shocking revelation came when Dr. Rodriguez intercepted Vorthak scientific communications discussing humanity's impossible behavior. Vorthak researchers had concluded that humans were either genetically modified weapons created by some ancient civilization, or that Earth was some kind of military training world designed to produce perfect soldiers. They can't accept that we're natural, Dr. Rodriguez reported to Admiral Hayes during a secure communication. Their entire worldview is based on the idea that intelligent species are peaceful by nature. We're forcing them to question everything they believe. Emperor Vashitar made his decision during an emergency session of his war council. This human infestation will destroy everything we have built if we allow it to spread. We will gather every ship, every warrior, every weapon in the Empire and destroy their homeworld. Cut off the head and the body dies. Admiral Kelvas was reluctant. My lord, our intelligence suggests that Earth's defenses may be more formidable than they appear. These humans have been planning for interstellar war since they achieved space travel. Impossible, General Hicksmoth snapped. No species begins military preparation before making contact with potential enemies. It would be insane. Dr. Zixai cleared his throat nervously. Actually, General, given their evolutionary history, military preparation would be their natural first response to any unknown situation. They probably began building weapons the moment they realized other species existed. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The Vorthak Empire had built its power by conquering species that had never prepared for war. Now they faced creatures who had been preparing for war their entire evolutionary history. How long before our fleets can reach their system? Emperor Vashitar demanded. 3 weeks, my lord, if we strip defenses from every sector. Do it. Gather every ship we have. The humans have shown the galaxy that the Vorthak can be defeated. We must prove them wrong, or our empire will crumble as every slave world rises in rebellion. As the Vorthak Empire mobilized its entire military might for a final strike against Earth, humanity made its own preparations. The battle that was coming would determine not just the fate of 2 species, but the future balance of power in the galaxy. On Earth, President Carter authorized the activation of defense systems that had been built in secret for over a decade. Deep space monitoring stations went active, hidden weapons platforms powered up, and the Terran Defense Fleet began moving into positions that had been planned, years before humanity ever met another intelligent species. The galaxy was about to discover what happened when apex predators decided to protect their home. The Vorthak Imperial Fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of Earth's solar system like a dark storm cloud against the stars. 300 ships of various sizes representing the full military might of an empire that had conquered 1,000 worlds. At their head flew Emperor Vashitar's personal dreadnought, a massive vessel designed to break the will of entire civilizations. Puny mammals of Earth, the Emperor's voice boomed across all communication frequencies. You have defied the Vorthak Empire for the last time. Surrender now and your deaths will be swift. Continue to resist and we will make your world a monument to the folly of challenging our might. From the Orbital Defense Station New Geneva, Admiral Ben Hayes watched the enemy fleet approach with calm satisfaction. Everything was proceeding exactly as humanity had planned. Open a channel to all Earth forces, Hayes ordered. This is Admiral Hayes. Operation Apex is now active. Show them what humans do to bullies. The Vorthak advance began confidently, with the massive fleet moving in formation toward Earth's outer defenses. Emperor Vashitar expected the same pattern he had seen on every other world. A few desperate defensive shots, then panic and surrender as his overwhelming numbers became clear. Instead, the solar system came alive. The asteroid belt, which had appeared empty on Vorthak sensors, suddenly swarmed with ships. Converted mining vessels disguised as space debris emerged from hiding spots among the rocks. Captain Tony Clark led this improvised fleet in hit-and-run attacks that confused and frustrated the advancing Vorthak forces. What kind of military doctrine is this? Demanded General Hicksmoth as his formations came under fire from multiple directions. They attack with civilian ships. They use asteroids as cover. This is chaos, not warfare. Emperor Vashtar was beginning to understand that human warfare wasn't like anything his empire had faced. They turn everything into a weapon, he realized. Their civilian vessels, their industrial equipment, even space debris. They don't have military forces. Their entire species is a military force. The first major shock came when the Vorthak fleet reached what they thought was Earth's main defensive perimeter. Hidden weapons platforms, disguised as defunct satellites and space junk, suddenly powered up and opened fire. What the Vorthak had dismissed as primitive orbital debris was actually a carefully designed kill zone. Commodore Eric Johnson commanded the defense platforms from his hidden control ship, which had been masquerading as a derelict freighter. Fire pattern Alpha, he ordered calmly. Let's show them what a real crossfire looks like. The Vorthak found themselves under attack from directions they hadn't even known existed. Human weapons platforms built into hollowed-out asteroids, concealed in the shadows of moons, even disguised as space stations, all opened fire simultaneously. But the real surprise was waiting closer to Earth. As the Vorthak fleet pushed through the outer defenses, they discovered that the human home system was a trap within a trap within a trap. Every piece of orbital infrastructure was also a weapons platform. Every moon base was also a fortress. Even the space elevators had been designed to serve as massive railguns. Captain Rachel Green led the lunar defense fleet from her flagship, emerging from bases built into the moon's far side. Phoenix Control, this is Moonbase Alpha. We have clear targeting solutions on the enemy flagship. Requesting permission to engage. Permission granted, Admiral Hayes replied. Take down their Emperor. The battle for Earth became unlike anything in the galaxy's history. The Vorthak had brought overwhelming force to crush a single world. But they found themselves fighting an entire solar system that had been turned into a fortress. When Vorthak forces finally managed to land on Earth's surface, they discovered that fighting humans on their home territory was exponentially more difficult then facing them in space. Colonel Patricia Lewis commanded the ground defense from a bunker that had been disguised as a shopping mall. "Welcome to Earth," she announced over loudspeakers as Vorthak. Dropships landed in major cities around the world. Population 8 billion apex predators. Hope you brought enough ammo. The ground fighting became a nightmare for the invading Vorthak warriors. Human soldiers didn't just defend territory, they used it. City blocks became kill zones. Subway systems became ambush routes. Even civilian buildings had been designed with defensive positions and hidden weapon caches. But the turning point came when Dr. Amy Rodriguez, working from a secure facility beneath the Pentagon, activated humanity's ultimate psychological weapon. Broadcasting on all Vorthak frequencies, she began to speak directly to the Empire's forces. Warriors of the Vorthak Empire, her voice carried across the battle, translated into their language. "You came here believing you were hunting another species of frightened herbivores. You were wrong." The transmission included detailed analysis of human evolutionary history, showing the Vorthak exactly what they were fighting. Images of Earth's prehistoric predators, documentation of humanity's wars, and biological data proving that humans were designed by evolution to be killers. Every human you face is descended from creatures that survived by being better hunters than saber-toothed cats, better fighters than cave bears, better tacticians than pack-hunting wolves. We didn't develop weapons to hunt. We are the weapons that evolution built to hunt everything else on our world. The effect on Vorthak morale was devastating. Warriors who had conquered 1,000 worlds without fear suddenly understood that they were fighting the galaxy's ultimate predators on their home territory. Emperor Vashitar, watching his invasion crumble, made a desperate final decision. If he couldn't conquer these humans, he would challenge their leader to single combat. It was an ancient Vorthak tradition that had never failed to restore their warriors' confidence. "Human leader," he broadcast from his flagship's bridge, "I am Vashtar, Emperor of the Vorthak, conqueror of 1,000 worlds. Face me in single combat, and let our battle decide the fate of both our peoples." Captain Steve Mitchell, still commanding the Phoenix despite battle damage, accepted immediately. "I'll meet you on the surface, Emperor. Just you and me." The duel took place in New York's Central Park, broadcast to both fleets. Emperor Vashtar stood nearly 10 feet tall, with natural armor, razor-sharp claws, and the experience of defeating hundreds of enemy champions. Captain Mitchell was smaller, unarmored, carrying only a plasma rifle and a combat knife. The fight should have been over quickly. Emperor Vashitar had every physical advantage, plus centuries of combat experience. But as the battle unfolded, it became clear that he had never faced an opponent like a human being. Mitchell didn't fight like the ceremonial champions the Emperor was used to defeating. He used terrain, improvised weapons, even his own injuries as tactical advantages. When the Emperor's claws tore his arm, Mitchell used his own blood to blind his opponent. When Vashitar's superior strength seemed overwhelming, the human disappeared into the park's trees and began a guerrilla campaign that drove the alien ruler to fury. "What are you?" Emperor Vashitar demanded, as Mitchell emerged from hiding to land another hit before vanishing again. "Fight me with honor." "I am fighting with honor," Mitchell replied, his voice carrying across the battlefield. "Human honor. We fight to win, not to look good doing it. We fight to protect what matters to us, not to prove how tough we are." The duel ended when Mitchell used a tactic that no Vorthak could have imagined. Pretending to be defeated, he allowed the Emperor to approach for a killing blow, then detonated explosives he had hidden in his own armor. Both fighters survived barely, but the Emperor's spirit was broken. "You would die to defeat me," Vashtar whispered, his voice filled with something the Vorthak had never experienced: respect for an enemy. "I would die to protect my people," Mitchell corrected. "That's what makes us different. You fight to conquer, we fight to defend. Guess which motivation makes better warriors?" The Vorthak Empire's surrender came within hours. Faced with an enemy that could not be intimidated, could not be defeated by superior numbers, and would literally die before giving up, Emperor Vashitar ordered his fleets to withdraw from all conquered territories. But the most important moment came in the aftermath, as human ships spread throughout former Vorthak space, liberating enslaved worlds. Admiral Hayes met with delegations from dozens of species, all of them offering alliance with Earth. "We don't want to rule you," Hayes explained to the assembled alien representatives. "We want to protect you. There's a difference." Ambassador Zethai, representing the Kalari Federation, spoke for many when he said, "The galaxy has learned that there are worse things than the Vorthak Empire. There are also better things. Humanity has shown us that predators can choose to be guardians. The war was over, but humanity's role in the galaxy was just beginning. Earth took its place not as conquerors, but as the protectors of a new galactic community. The apex predators had found their true purpose, not hunting prey, but hunting those who would prey on others. In the end, the galaxy had cried out for aid, and Earth had responded with exactly what was needed. Warriors who fought not for conquest but for justice. The age of the Vorthak Empire was over. The age of human guardianship had begun.